What do you think people want when they're looking for a job? I want to just start this conversation. So, what is it when people are looking at a company? What is it that they want? What are the biggest drivers? Just
To be valued.
to be valued, okay?
Fun place to work.
Fun place to work.
To add value.
Add value. How do I add value?
Purpose.
Purpose.
Deliver a product that you believe in.
What's that?
Delivering a product that you believe in.
Delivering a product that you believe in, right? when when most people think about culture, when most people think about like what they're looking for, the things that often will come up will be, well, how much am I going to make, right? What are the benefits? And a lot of the national rankings for best cultures really heavily rely on, you know, what are the benefits look like, you know, what's the income that they're making, and the question that I think there's that really, because it always comes to like what's the right question, and I think the question isn't what do people want, it's what do people need, and there's a big difference here. You know, when you take a look at what people want or they think they want and what they actually need. And I think as business owners, we have this opportunity to actually give people what they truly need. And if you look at life, what do people need? Well, it's a lot more than just a paycheck. You know, you'd mentioned purpose. People need to have a meaningful life. And what role does business play in that? Historically, that's outside of the realm of what a business is supposed to do. That's outside of the parameters of what, you know, of blocking and tackling of running a business. And I'm here today to tell you that no, it's completely within the parameters, because we don't have, in my business, we don't have project managers and designers. We have human beings. And their needs are holistic. If we're just training them in the skill set to be a better project manager, to be a better designer, to be a better, you know, marketer, then we're missing fully half of the equation of what they need as human beings. And so ultimately, that's where the joy formula has come from. FBC Remodel, we're a design build company. So we have designers, we have project managers, we have support staff. We're in Denver. We started here, Minneapolis, and Chicago. We're really the only national remodeler that's out there in multiple states. Why is that? I ask myself often. And I always say because it's freaking hard. Like remodel is challenging. You know, doing a $250,000 remodel in somebody's home while they're living there is challenging, okay? And so but everybody's business is challenging, and I get that. I don't think that we're unique in that regard. But over the years, we've really had to figure out how to do this thing better, because it all comes down to the people. And so we have to have the best people possible, and how do we do that? I want to start with giving just a little bit of context of where I came from so that you can maybe relate to it, or at least understand where the insanity comes from. So, but before I do that, I do want to just answer the question of what the hell the joy formula is, all right? So the joy formula is success plus well-being to the power of purpose. And I'm going to give you a brief overview of this, and then we'll get into some of it. So the success side of the formula is the business metrics. That's all metrics. And so you're already doing that. You're already having your, you might run on a similar platform, but everybody in your company's got their number one. They know what they need to do. You're meeting with them on a monthly basis. We call it our scorecard review. So, you're meeting with them on a monthly basis and you're saying, hey, how are your business metrics? What do you need to improve? That type of a thing. That's the success side of the formula. Then the well-being side of the formula is based on what we have as our 7 F's, okay? And that's fitness, family and friends, fun, financial, forward, which is what are you putting into your brain, and then I'm missing 2, but we'll get to that. So we have our well-being side of the formula, which is all about what's going on in their life. How are they moving their lives forward? And we started with success and well-being, and we ran with that for a period of a couple years. And what we found was we were missing something, and then it all came together with purpose. And so when people really understand their purpose on this planet as a human being, and they see that their purpose is in alignment with their work, it's a whole different ballgame. And so we take everybody in the company through a purpose exercise, virtually on day 1 when they come in. And it's messy at first, but over time, people really figure out their purpose and they see how that aligns with their work. All right, so going into how this all came about, this is me as a 3rd grade kid in the back of the class, frustrated as hell because I couldn't read, and I was stuck in the back corner, the only one who was reading Dick and Jane books or trying to read Dick and Jane books while the rest of the class was reading their chapter books, right? I bring this up just to like have you understand a little bit of my drive, because I had this drive and this ego of like, I'm going to show these what I can do. Because I'm I'm not the dumb kid in the back of the class. I'm going to show these guys what I can do. And that's great as an entrepreneur, but it also, like with every strength, there's a corresponding weakness, right? And so the weakness then, you get all this drive, but then the weakness comes when, and I'll kind of paint a picture here because this was a really pivotal moment for me. The weakness then is when somebody on your team pulls you into the room, and this was right after I had just given, this was in our Minneapolis office, and I had just given this rousing, like let's man the torpedoes. We're moving forward. We're making a structural change. Here we go. And she pulls me aside, and what I'm expecting to hear is, Paddy, great job. Like, I'm really excited about this. I can't wait to dive into this, and we're really embracing this change. And what I hear from my design leader is, Paddy, I feel like you're playing a game of chess, and we're the chess pieces. And this time of year, as we're going into our strategic launches, everyone here will have some sort of a kickoff, and you've got your plan for the year. Is the team feeling like they're chess pieces, or do they feel like they actually own the outcome? And at this point in my career, I realized that I was playing a game of chess and that I hadn't fully brought the team into owning and actually being the entrepreneurs of their life. Then I had this moment of recognizing that everything is coming from either a space of fear or a space of love. And this is like really deep down into our psyche and who we are as spiritual human beings. Everything that we do is either coming from a space of fear or love. And of course, there's a spectrum there. But every single thing we do, every move that we make, everything that we say, how we wake up in the morning is either coming from a space of fear or love. And what I recognized is that for the bulk of my life, I was coming from a place of fear that I wasn't good enough, that I had to prove myself. And so that made me push. That made me like try to push my way through life and push other people. But when I'm coming from a space of love, then you open up. And you look at people as human beings, not as chess pieces. And then just kind of along the way, and as life kind of brings you the teacher when you need it the most, I met this man, Brother David. And Brother David has spent his entire life in the realm of gratitude. And I was at a conference. There were 70 entrepreneurs in this room. We're, like this semicircle room, and there's 3 different levels. And Brother David, who's like, maybe 5'2", 110 pounds soaking wet. He's, at that point, I think he was probably 75 years old. And he spoke in the softest voice you can imagine. And I'm thinking in the back of the room, like, this is like a high charging group. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is not going to make it here. Like, we're here to learn about business. We're here to about, growing our, we want to grow profits. We want to grow our revenue. And we got Brother David, and nobody's even, and 5 minutes in, you could hear a pin drop. Because what he was talking about is what we needed. It's not what we wanted, it's what we needed. And he said that if you're searching for happiness, you're always going to be disappointed. Because happiness is event-driven. You think about that, you get the promotion, you get the big deal, you get the new boat, the new house. Now that makes me happy. But what about the next day? Or what happens when you don't get the big deal? It's event-driven. But gratitude is something that you can find in every moment. Gratitude is something that you can, in this moment, have gratitude for everything that you have, for the person that you're talking to, the humanity, the spiritual, just being inside of us all. We can have gratitude for the sun. He talks about gratitude for being able to turn on hot and cold running water. How lucky we are to have hot and cold running water. And we can brush our teeth with it, that we can drink it. Most of the world doesn't have that. We can have gratitude every single day. And so that was the kind of the evolution of me really embracing, I could go to love. Because love is gratitude, right? Like, love is that same emotion of gratitude. And so that's what set the stage then for me being open to the joy formula. About 7-8 years ago, we were at a convention down in Denver, and I had the leaders from each market in. And we were working on our strategic plan, and we'd seen some really great speakers that day. So we were in the mood to kind of like open up our brains a little bit. And keep in mind that, I'd met Brother David, I'd had this chess conversation, and all of this was swirling around. And we're creating our strategic plan for the next year. And we're talking, and so in our business, it's all about, how many jobs are we going to do to be able to create, the revenue. I think at that point we were, doing $18 million of revenue or something like that. We're trying to get to 20 or 22. And Lindsay, the same gal who pulled me aside and said, hey, I'm not a chess piece on your chessboard. She's sitting there with this look on her face like, I don't like this. Something's wrong. And so I go, well, how about if we make it about happy clients? Like, how many happy clients could we have? Because I'm still driving the numbers on this. I want the revenue growth. And she's still not buying it. And she just goes, listen, I don't want to go back to my design team and say, hey, you did a great job this year, but we need you to do 20% more next year. It just doesn't motivate us. We're designers. I just want to bring more joy to the team. And so I quickly, on my phone, I look up joy. One of the first definitions that I find, I've yet to find this again. I don't know where it was. But the definition was, joy is present when a person experiences success and well-being. And that's where I came around. I'm like, how about this? Here's this idea. And so we said, wow, what if our metric was joy? What if what we did was to bring joy to our team, to our clients, to our trades, to our communities? What if that was our driving metric? So we wrap that conversation up. I was like, all right, joy's going to be, and then I go back to my house, and I'm walking around, and we live in this beautiful little like area with these wonderful homes, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm having one of those ego moments of like, wow, I really like my house. I really like my neighborhood. I really like the manicured lawns, and I really like the swimming pool. And I'm thinking, I could lose this, because who the hell goes after joy in their company? Right? Like, who the hell does this? And I really had one of those moments of like, of reckoning. What am I really all about? And I just said, screw it. I'm going to throw my hat over the fence, right? Because what do you do when you throw your hat over the fence? You got to go get it. You got to figure out a way to get around that fence or get over that fence. And so I threw my hat over the fence, and I said, we're just going to go all in on joy. I'm just going to believe, right? And if you go back to that fear versus love, you know, fear of losing the house, fear of like, what are my YPO buddies going to think when I tell them I've gone all in on joy, right? Like, right? So, but when you come from love, it all makes sense. It's actually easy. My experience with this has been like, I love my team, and I didn't used to. I just want to be really honest. Like, I really was more enamored with growing a big company and being successful than I was with truly helping people. Going all in on love, like, oh my God, it's so much easier. My life is so much lighter. Man, our profitability went through the roof, and our growth has been phenomenal. And it's because we have people that really love what they're doing. You know, we have people that look at their purpose in life, and our purpose as a company is to build joy for as many people as possible. And they look at their articulated purpose, and they can see alignment. I always get asked this question: what happens if somebody doesn't have alignment? Well, they leave, and it's perfect. They should leave. You want them to leave. If their purpose doesn't align with your purpose as a company, I mean, by God, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to be productive. And like, they need, give them a little, like, you know, help them out the door. So Brian, come on up. This is Brian. He is our and again, Steve brought Brian to us. Just what a great find. But I wanted to do a little Q&A, and Brian, can you just talk a little bit about, like, on when you're talking to people about, you know, oh, the other piece of this, right? Tell me this, you don't get this all the time, is, because I'll talk to them after, you know, somebody who's coming into the company, and they'll talk about their conversation with Brian. And you know what they say? They say, like, wow, you guys have got, you can I can really sense your culture because of the joy formula. The joy formula is an operational, it's an operational program for your culture. And so when you actually brand your culture, do you see what we've done here? We've branded the culture. So now people get it. Like somebody who's looking at our company goes, oh, the joy formula, I totally get your culture. And you want to be able to brand your culture just like you brand a product that you're selling. Like, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you have it so articulated and so clear that people from the outside who's looking at your culture are crystal clear on this? You know, and the joy formula is like a great brand. Use it. Like, use that brand. Go ahead and take it. It's something that we want to be put out there. All right, so Brian, talk a little bit or...
Yeah, so what I do on a day-to-day basis is I'm talking with individuals about FBC Remodel, and they're interested in coming and joining our company. I'm interviewing, I'm seeking talent to come to our company. And one thing that happens typically towards the end of, say, an interview is we're discussing, what is your company about? Why are you there? And all those kinds of questions, right? Which I really appreciate when people ask those kinds of questions. It gives me an opportunity to talk about our company culture. And when I talk about the fact that our company, we center everything we do around building joy. Our purpose is to build the most joy for the most people possible. And I talk about meaningful work and this idea, we also talk about our well-being. This is the kind of company where the individual I report to is going to ask about my meditation habit that I said I was going to do. That's the kind of company I get to work for. When I talk about that, mostly our company is not for everybody and our culture is not for everybody, but usually people light up. I mean, if they weren't awake prior to that individual, you know, they're awake now. Or if they were going through the interview and they had some other irons in the fire and some other interested parties, then all of a sudden they're really attached to our company. I had multiple times where people would put another offer on hold so they could go through our interview process and end up with our company, or they've turned other offers down in the process. And in some cases, it's higher paying situations because they're just so drawn to our company culture and how that meaning and that well-being is infused into what we do as a company and how intentional we talk about work. One thing I can say too, and then we talk about like generational differences, you got the boomers, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. We're getting into that. Gen Z is entering into the workforce, right? And one thing I'm discovering about Gen Z, there's all kinds of critiques that we can make about Gen Z. But one thing is they have a very low tolerance level for meaningless work. And they are looking for purpose. This is the kind of generation that they're living out of their cars proudly and putting it up on YouTube just so they could show the world how different their lives are. I mean, that's the kind of individuals that's going into the workforce. And they get really, really drawn to this idea of a company where I can find meaning in what I do, and also that you're going to talk about my well-being, even that well-being outside of work, because that's going to, of course, impact the work you do. It's a fun to have those conversations. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, guys. If you want any of these documents, just let Brian's here. If you can get his information, Steve can give you my information. Happy to share whatever would be helpful. If you're implementing something and you have some questions, we're here to help. Really, like just reach out and we'll help in whatever way we can.